22s are just as good as they used to be. There's a lot of considerations. But so before we go and delve in deep into our card by card analysis of goblins and gnomes and what's been released so far, we have an announcement to make, which
Oh,
is
nice.
already in the Twitch panels. If you guys see, we are releasing our tier list in full with all the numbers and everything. This is going to be the most detailed tier list out there. We started working on the tier list in October, like very early on in October, actually, when it became very clear to us that Anti Gravity was not updating his tier list after, like, he just stopped in like the middle of Nax too. It was so weird. Like, he almost got through Nax, and then for the very last thing that was released, he just didn't update it anymore. And then Trump obviously hasn't updated in like God knows how long, like 4 months. Um, so
Something like
we
that.
thought we would put together a tier list for everybody. It would have the updated meta, and we will pledge to continue to update that. You know, we play a lot, and I write a lot of articles. It's as enjoyable for me to be working on tier lists and to be like writing articles as it is to actually play the game. So it's not like a issue at all for me to keep this stuff updated, and especially with goblins and gnomes coming out, the meta will shift a lot. So we'll provide like weekly updates in terms of everything moving. But just to start off, we want to provide the best kind of tier list that a tier list can be. So there's a difference between what a tier list can do and what it would a little overreach to do. A tier list is kind of the general value, like kind of the base value of where you see every card. And then what these cards are going to do is they're going to shift up or shift down in value based on what drops you have, based on what your other cards are with the synergies, based on if your deck is going more tempo, if it's going more control. And that stuff shouldn't be in the tier list, and so they're not in the tier list. But what the tier list is going to have is a base number, like a very specific number. We started with a 1 to 100 scale, and then we got to Tyrion, and we're like, Tyrion, you are 128 points. Um, it went a little above 100, and with a power creep, it may even go higher than that. But most of the cards are going to be well within the 1 to 100 range. To give you a benchmark, a Bloodfen Raptor is, I think, a 54 or maybe a 56. A River Croc is the reverse side of 50. It's a 44 or a 46. A Chillwind Yeti is an 84. And that's kind of where it tops out. A Drake is, I think, like a 90 or a 92. And that's the scale
Yeah.
that we used, and it's a consistent scale. Legendaries are ranked the same ways as commons and all the other cards. It's split up. Like when you look at it, it'll look very similar to Anti Gravity's list, but prettier because Anti Gravity's list was very bare bones.
Yeah.
And I think the important part is that you have all of these numbers, so you can see something within a tier, and you don't see like this giant like list the way Trump has it, where you know this card is better than this, but you don't know how much. You don't know like he puts a lot of things in, let's say, average, and there's like 40 cards in average, and it goes down on the list. So you know one card he thinks is better than the other, but you don't know if he thinks it's like 1 point better than like the 4 cards down because they're all kind of the same, or if one is like actually 12 points higher than the ones below it. You don't know where these breakpoints are, and there may not be breakpoints, but we presume Trump is not valuing each drop in card as exactly 1 point. So when you see a tier list, it's going to look like Anti-Gravity's list, but then you can make your own determinations when you look at the tier list to see, oh, they think this is 56, whereas this other card is 54. So maybe if this was the first pick, we take, the 56 one, but really it doesn't matter that much and we can move around. And if we have synergies for something that's 56 and none for something that's 54, maybe the one for 56 really like wouldn't even be a question. And so that's getting released next Monday. We already have it done, but we're doing a couple of last minute like brush ups, and we want to definitely get it released and have you guys comment on it and everything before Goblins actually comes out. And again, this is coming with the pledge that day one Goblins release, all cards will be in this tier list.
Yes. We will work hard to get that. And okay, this is going back to like 10 minutes before your long ass spiel. But yes, so I don't want people thinking that I'm like totally dumping on piloted Shredder. It is still very
Piloted
good.
Shredder. We'll get back to the piloted Shredder. We'll get back to him. let's focus on the
Yeah.
tier list. So that's part one of the tier list, and part one is going to come out next Monday. After that, we're hoping for a early December release, and we'll tease a little bit this now. But we were talking a bit before about going beyond the tier list, which is all the considerations that you ask about when we're drafting, whether it's about drops, synergies, how to build a cohesive deck, if we have enough early removal, if we have too much late removal, what does it mean? How do I change my deck if I have a lot of early removal? How do I change my deck if I see that I'm getting a lot of card advantage value? What if my deck is looking a little bit more tempo? How does these exactly change the tier list value? Like, you kind of know that 2 drops get a little more value if you're going more tempo, and large removals do as well. Whereas if you're playing more control, smaller removals get more priority. But you may not know exactly how much at each point. So hopefully, assuming everything goes according to plan, in December we'll be able to release something that goes beyond the tier list, and it will be where we're hoping. And I don't want to overpromise, but I think this is going to turn out to be very good. Where we're working with a partner in Europe right now to make this all happen, and we've been putting a lot of work this month, and we'll in October, and we'll put in a lot more work in November to make this happen. So we're
Yeah.
excited about that as well.